Hi everyone, Vicky Hurley here. I think I need to zoom out just a hair. That's better. Today we're going to look at the new moon on April 18th, 2:57 p.m. Eastern Time. And it's at 28 Aries, 28-25 Aries, practically 29 Aries. So here we are again with these 28s and 29s, these critical degrees. This has been happening a lot in these new and full moon spots. And again, it is like the dichotomy of the new moon, new beginning, new Aries, new. But then it's at that 28, 29, that's the finishing up phase. So there is like this opposing energy, this dichotomy that's going on with that. When I open this chart, the first thing I see is Venus up here. Venus at 8 degrees Gemini up at the top. And it just seems like everything is kind of aspecting and pointing up to Venus. And it's so coincidental or synchronistic that I mentioned it in the last thing about Venus so sparkly in the sky, and I've still been just seeing it all the time. And there was a few people who did comment that they had noticed Venus as well, but it really is just magnificent. I don't know if it's always like that and I just never noticed it, but it seems different. And then of course Venus shows up in the chart so prominently. Well, it is making a lot of aspects. This is a trine to the North Node in Libra to Venus. And then we've got some squares going on over here. We've got Neptune at 9 Pisces. Neptune conjunct Vesta in Pisces over here. That's squaring it. And then Jupiter and, what is this, Juno, sextiling it. There's something else here. Oh, that's Mercury is doing one of those, whatever, in conjunct things. South Node, of course, is a sextile. So it really is. It just opposed Saturn. I guess it's almost still in order. So there are a lot of aspects being made to Venus at this time in this chart. So, Venus is love. The other thing, Jupiter over here has finally gone direct after so long. And Jupiter and Juno together, this is also kind of a love vibe, I would say. Because I think Juno is the goddess of love, too, or love and beauty in astrology, or mythology. Actually, I did look something up about her. Juno is the daughter of Saturn in mythology, and the sister and wife of Jupiter. So that's what I wanted to bring up. So Juno and Jupiter are a natural partnership. They're siblings, they're married, they're husband and wife. They're a team. They're a good team, I would say. They naturally will go together. And it's funny because that would be the queen and the king of the gods in Roman mythology, right? And then Leo also rules royalty and everything, and Regulus and all that. It's all this royalty stuff too. So there's something like that. But here's what I want to say about it. Love, love is in the air, I would say. Even though we've got a lot of, the Uranus-Pluto square is still an orb, and, Aries is, there's a lot of, Aries can be confrontational and everything like we've said before, but I feel like love is in the air. This is going to catch it, too. This is going to catch up. It's moving faster. Jupiter's moving kind of slow. It was retrograde. It's just stopped, stationed, and then now it's moving direct. So Juno's going to catch up to Jupiter here pretty soon. I should have looked it up, but I didn't think of it. So this is a big love stuff. And in the sign of Leo. Leo, the natural ruler of the 5th house. Love, romance, fun. So there's a lot of that kind of vibe going on too. And it's all trining Uranus in the South Node. And a loose trine to Saturn. So there's still this grand trine on fire, but it's like this love thing. There's definitely some kind of love vibe going on here. Or there could be for a lot of people. Especially if you have like something at this degree, like 8 Gemini with the Venus, or 7 to 12 fire or air, or if this is aspecting your personal planets, I mean, I really feel strong about some love stuff happening here. Again with the Uranus South Node, past life connections, out of the blue. One of the things I remember about Juno in astrology, I think it's like because Venus and Mars are something like, those are your typical love planets, but Juno is a love planet too, but I think it means something about who you're going to end up with regardless. You know, Venus and Mars might be like, Venus would be like your ideal, who you love, and Mars would be who you're sexually attracted to. But then who you end up with is where your Juno is natally, right? So for a lot of you, it could be some kind of big thing. You know, it's who you're going to end up with. Could be showing up here. Uranus, south, unexpectedly. South node, past life connections, things like that. So there's definitely an element of that. This Neptune stuff is also, this Neptune-Vesta connection here is also in that same degree here. It's squaring the Venus, and it's doing some kind of thing with the semi-sextile and conjunct whatever to the Jupiter over here. So let's look at that for a second. Let's look at Neptune and Vesta together. You know, I don't really have a whole big good handle on Vesta, although I always feel like I think Vesta is going to turn out to be the true ruler of Virgo. But Vesta is the home, the hearth, the Vestal Virgins. That's why another link towards Virgo, you know, because Virgo is not a virginal, but it kind of, you know, Virgo the Virgin. That's the the symbol for it. And then Vesta is the Vestal Virgins, and it's all a V thing. I just always feel like that might end up being, you know, the thing. That because, you know, something else, I was doing these mandala, these astrology mandalas, and something I hadn't noticed before because I was working with the planetary symbols. Many of the planets that have dual rulership, such as Saturn, Venus, and Mercury, the dual rulership is over an air and an earth sign, which is so weird, and so, to me, like, so almost polar opposites, you could say. You know, it's like water and fire, air and earth. Saturn rules over Capricorn and Aquarius, so earth and air. Venus rules over Taurus and Libra, earth and air. And Mercury rules over Gemini and Virgo, earth and air. And I know there's more that have dual rulership, but that that kind of struck me, and I just kind of noticed that while I was working on these astrology mandalas. It's like, isn't that a weird thing? How could two things that are so different, earth and air, you know, planets share rulership over it? And I don't even have the answer. I just was it was something I noticed, and I thought I'd bring it up. But how weird is that? You know, that something would be dual rulership is just so different. So anyway, so Vesta, the home, the hearth, the family. Food. I think of Vesta with food a lot, too. And Neptune, dreamy, mystical, spiritual, delusional can be. So these two getting together, well, back to the Neptunes of falling in love stuff, too. Neptune is totally, you fall in love with somebody and you see them through rose-colored glasses. And like, say this was a natal chart with Neptune in the 7th. If somebody has Neptune in the 7th natally, you always got to tell them, watch out, because you don't see your partners clearly. You could imbue them with qualities that they don't in fact possess. You know, you could, it could be more about the dream and the fantasy than it is the reality. But you know, with Vesta being so, I think of Vesta as so earthy and the hearth and everything, maybe it could be that the dream becomes a reality. And it doesn't have to just relate to lovers. You know, whatever your Neptune, wherever you've been using that Neptune energy, have you been using it towards spirituality or creativity? You know, it could be, Vesta could, I feel, might bring something, solid foundation, like make it real, make it in the 3D reality real, you know, something real could come out of it. So say you're dreaming about finding love, you know, maybe this person's going to show up and they really are flesh and bone and really do exist. Or maybe you have a dream for a creative project, and then Vesta this connection could make it actually become reality. Again, I would say, if you have something at these degrees, like this 8-9 or Pisces or mutable, I think it could be even more prevalent. Or water. Really anything at the 9-degree mark, roughly. The other thing is, of course, with the vibration of the Neptune and the Piscean energy, which Neptune rules over, and it's in its home sign of Pisces at this time. The other part of that is the fish swimming downward. So then that's the drug addiction, the alcoholism, the lying, the cheating, you know, the swindling. Somebody who's a swindler could have a strong Neptune. And it might be, for some people who are on that vibration, it could be time to pay the piper. It could be reality check time. So if it was a swindler kind of a thing, say, that's such a weird word. Sometimes these old words come out of my mouth. It's like I swear there's somebody around here helping, because this I don't use that term, swindler. What is that? But anyways, you know, it might come up, hey, you get busted. Or if it's drugs or alcohol, it's like, hey, you're gonna have to face reality here. Like it could go that way too. Like, you know, if say it was a drug problem, it could be law, you know, legal law, but it could also just be your physical body saying enough. You know, there could be a liver. You know, if you're say somebody who's a strong drinking a lot, the liver might say, oh, you're gonna have liver damage now. You're gonna have to fess up to reality. So I think it could kind of go either way. But overall, I feel really, really good about it. You know, Chiron went through there. You know, I think Chiron cleaned up a lot of our illusions that we might have with the Neptunian energy. You know, Chiron was like, okay, let's really look at this. And that's one of the things I get about Chiron too. It's like, let's really take a look at the reality of it. Let's dig deep. Let's not brush it under the rug. Let's not, you know. And it's sextiling, it's still an orb to sextile Pluto here too. So there's still more change and transformation and digging deep stuff that is happening with this Pluto-Chiron connection. But I think that a lot of us have done, if you've done, here's what I want to say, if you've done the work, I think this could be a time of reward too. It could definitely be a time of reaping the reward, especially now that Jupiter has gone direct. You know, this Aries energy, well, let's just address this one more time. We've been talking a lot, I've been talking a lot about Aries energy because there's been a lot of stuff going on. We already had that other couple things happen here with this Aries. I flew right out of my brain. I can't think of what they are, but if you watch these videos, you know we've talked at length about how this Aries energy. And Aries energy has been strongly involved in the Uranus-Pluto square that's been going on. So, you know, there's been this, oh, sorry, back up in recovery. Sorry about that. This frictional energy of Aries energy. But this time I feel like a lot of people are going to be coming into their own. That's what I want to say. Because that's the ideal, the good part of Aries is realizing who you really are, standing up for yourself, being true to yourself. Who are you really? Coming into your own. Chiron and Saturn, all this stuff, these are these deep stuff that people laid on us, you know. And all the things that happened that messed us up in life, you know, that damaged us. And now, it reminds me too of like the inner child stuff too, because Aries is the child, you know, it's the child of the zodiac. And it is like, you know, it's time to come into our own. It's time to stand on our own 2 feet. It's time to, if we've done the work, we've done the digging through, we've done the healing, and now we can stand strong and stand tall in who we really are and affirm this, who we really are. Hopefully, you know, not in a selfish way, but, you know, Libra, if this were a natal chart, let's say if this were a natal chart again, Aries South Node, Libra North Node. I would say in a past life, Aries South Node, you were very much concerned about yourself. Everything revolved around you. It was all about you, and you went your own way, and you didn't care what anybody said. And then in a Libra North Node, in this incarnation, you would have to try to get along with people, take other people into consideration. So that's always going to be a part of this, while these nodes are in this direction. But by taking other people into consideration does not mean lay down and be their emotional punching bag or let them walk all over you. Again, Aries energy is needed. It's like the magician in the tarot. It's like standing up for yourself, about being empowered, knowing who you really are, standing in your truth. You know, these are all the qualities, the vibration that I get from this. So, and it's this one last, it's almost like the last hurrah here. You know, this Uranus-Pluto square has been going on, all this stuff, you know, with the eclipses and all this energy. And here's this like last hurrah in Aries. So if you've weathered the storm, if you've done the work, if you've not resorted to the childish aspect of it all, of Aries, or baby games, or I'm the victim, or blaming, if you've stood in your power, claimed who you are for good and for ill, Libra, both sides, the balance, you know, admitted to, fessed up to who you are, taken responsibility for you and your actions and your life, then this could really be a nice send-off. This could really be a nice launching for a lot of people. And a new moon in Aries, just in general, it is a great time to launch things. You know, it's talk about a new beginning. It totally is, even though it is almost at that 29 degree. Now Mercury is in Taurus, and it was doing something here. It's doing that thing with the here, but it's sextiling this Neptune stuff. I feel this could be real strong for creativity, real strong for writing, real strong for music and singing. You know, I always say how the Tauruses have the great throaty voice and everything, and you know, Taurus rules the throat. That's the throat chakra. That's ruled by Taurus. So, you know, and I always say I feel like Venus in Taurus is audible, and Venus in Libra is visual. So there's more of a visual, pretty, making everything look pretty, art, design, fashion, with the Libra energy. Where the Taurus is, it sounds, you know, the sounds, it's the music, it's the throat chakra, it's singing. It's writing. Well, Mercury is writing, communication in the sign of Taurus. This would also be if you've had been going through some stuff during this, all this hectic energy we had during March and everything. Now would be a good time to maybe, even though there's a lot of squares, now would still be, I think, a good time to talk things out. Mercury and Taurus. This is a good time to talk things out rationally, in a calm manner, in a fair, logical, calm manner. You know, not be so overly emotional or ready to fly off the handle or anything. Practical, logical. These are the qualities that I feel around Taurus energy. So on the side of Mercury, you know, I feel the communication would be less likely to run amok, or less likely to get off topic or get crazy or bring up all these old wounds and stuff. Keep to the topic at hand. You know, stick to what's happening right here and now. Mars is also in Taurus. You know, Mars in Taurus, to me, is more like just being able to get a lot of stuff done. Working really hard, being able to really get a lot of stuff done. Put your nose to the grindstone, get it done, make progress. Mars was squaring something too. Yeah, squaring the Jupiter. It's exact like in a day or so after that. So Mars square Jupiter. Yeah, things could escalate. Again, we could go that route. But I'm really just feeling... for a lot of people who have been really working hard and really striving here with the Mars, Jupiter's going to be the reward. You know, Jupiter's going to come up and make the reward happen. Jupiter's direct. It's coming back into its power. It's been retrograde for months. And it could be the reward for long enduring working and striving. Mars and Taurus, you know. It could be a major sexual thing too. Again, with all this love energy, Mars and Taurus square, this could be a major sexual attraction here. Physical. Mars and Taurus is very physical. If you do feel a lot of pent up aggravation or irritation or energy, or you still have a little bit of that residual all that stuff going on with the squares and everything that was happening in March. Mars and Taurus is saying sex is a good outlet, but also just anything physical. You know, if you live in the northern hemisphere, maybe get out and start digging up your garden. You know, take some of that energy and you know, get it into the earth there, or you know, definitely be out in nature. Taurus is an earth sign. It's the forest and the trees and the earth and the animals and all that. So. You know, that would be a good way, a good outlet for it. But I'm not really feeling, I'm kind of feeling like the storm is over, even though if you look at the aspectarian down here, there's a lot of squares. There's squares everywhere. But this is some of this, like Neptune square Venus, ascendant, we don't count that, Jupiter square Mercury too, huh? Let's see that. That's a pretty wide orb, but that is going to be coming up. Because Mercury's fast moving, Mercury's going to catch up to Jupiter quickly. So there will be a Mercury square Jupiter. You know, with the two fixed signs and the pridefulness, that's one of the things about Leo, you know, the downside, everything has a positive and negative, but the negative side of Leo can be prideful. And if you know, in the weeks coming up or the week following this, if there is some kind of thing that does pop up or arise, you know, it would be best not to let your pride get the best of you. You know, we can all be there. We all have that. We're human. We have an ego. And that's Aries too, but we are in a human body. Therefore we have an ego. Okay, you can't just kill, it's not about killing the ego. Somebody said that recently. You gotta love that ego. I even said something about that, how, you know, it's the animal. It's the human animal part of it. You gotta love it. So don't let the pride get the best of you. There could be, you know, Mercury, or you could say something and somebody could take it the wrong way. You know, try not to bruise any egos, or try not to hurt anybody's pride, you know. I said that before too, you know, with the Libra energy. It's like, you know, well, maybe you don't want to associate, maybe you've outgrown some of your associates and everything. But that doesn't mean you have to demolish them and, you know, make them feel like crap. You could leave gracefully, or move on gracefully, and be kind and be nice to people. Try to be, you know. Take that energy out in a different way here. This Mars is just pointing off to me. It's just like, it wants to go off. It doesn't want to be entangled with this stuff here. It just doesn't, it feels like it just really doesn't want to be. And two, Mercury, well, if somebody did, like, say you are breaking up, or a relationship's ending, or somebody did hurt your pride, maybe do something creative for it. You know, some of those best songs, like they say, that some of the best songs that are ever written come from these heartbreak. You know, heartbreak flourishes, makes creativity flourish. Or write a poem about it, or write a song about it, or get out and plant your garden about it. But I don't think that that's really the prevailing energy. When I opened this chart up, Venus was just, and I don't know if it's just because I've been seeing it in the sky lately or what, but you know, Venus is definitely the key thing here for me, and it's just aspecting practically everything in the chart, a lot of the planets. So new moon in Aries, new beginnings, spring in the northern hemisphere. Great time to make new beginnings, forge ahead. 28 too, 28, 29, maybe this is the more mature of the Aries energy. You know, the lower degrees are the beginnings, and then so maybe if we've gotten to the point where we're at the higher degrees, maybe that's a time of we've come through and we can look at things from a more mature point of view. More mature point of view. Use that energy wisely. You know, it's all just energy. You can use it any way you want to use it. Square doesn't mean it's going to be a fight. Squares make things happen. I said that a bunch of times. Trines and sextiles are nice, but you might just let that day just fly right by and not do a thing, you know. You got those squares, that's when things happen. Squares, conjunctions, opposition, hard aspects. That makes things happen. So this is a time to make things happen. And there's a strong thing about people falling in love. I feel very strong about that. Venusian energy all around. Love, creativity, beauty. I mean, I say, you know, go that route anyway. In Gemini, again, relates back to the Mercury, too. So great time for writing, speaking, communicating. Communicating, again, in a kind, in Venusian way. All right, real quick before we go, I want to tell you guys, I'm going to run out of time here. Here's my main page, and of course you can always find my other channels on here, like I always tell you. But I finished, here it is. I've got this astrology mandalas, universal mandalas. I've done one for each sign, as you can see. And it's on the Fine Art America site. And I know for some reason I don't show up in the search on this Fine Art America yet. But if you go down to that main page of mine, and you go into this About section, you can find everything. And Fine Art America, that's prints. Okay. Also, I want to show you one more time. So I did one that you have the option of the white background and the black background. And another thing I wanted to show is, you know what I think would be really cool is like this. You could do you could get 3 of them. And you could do like your sun, rising, and moon. This would be like a black background with a white mat or a white frame. I think they look good grouped, you know. And then this one would be white background art with a black mat or a black frame. And it looks, I think that would look pretty cool grouped like that. So you might want to consider getting one for your sun sign, rising sign, and moon. I think that might turn out pretty cool. Each has its own, like all the fire signs are from the same wire frame, and then the water ones are round, or the elements are there. And each has its elements, and all this stuff are in there too. In these symbols around the wheel. I don't know if you can see it in here. But all these little symbols, there's fire, the sun, fire, fixed, you know, with the Leo here. So each one has these symbols, and they're totally meant to speak to your subconscious mind, too. I mean, I think that people are going to get a lot of this, and they will be a deck eventually. I ended up taking down the ones that, because you're only allowed 25 or something, and so 2 for each zodiac sign ends up being 24. But there's going to be more universal mandalas to come. But I wanted to go ahead and do one for each zodiac sign. And I think they turned out pretty cool. Also, the Beast Mistress Animal Oracle cards are out and available, so you can check that out also under the About section on my main page. Thank you all for donating. It really makes it worthwhile to keep doing these videos. Watching my videos, commenting, liking, sharing, Google Plusing, and donating. I really appreciate the donations. So this is Vicki really signing off. Remember, you are love and beauty incarnate. Go soak up some of that Venus energy, and I'll talk to you soon.